Hello. we are live. Welcome to part 18 of a Weedwife's remedy. Today we're doing, I believe, at 4. So we're gonna do a little shorter. This week I should have actually switched the chapters, because last week it was a really short chapter, and this week it's a really long one. We're not gonna finish it. Yeah, so that is what we're doing this week. I hope everyone is doing well. We're gonna start on page 86 for everyone who has the book. Hello, Elaine. Hello, glad you can make it. How are you? And it's In the Canyons of the Otherworld, Mythopoetic Plant Medicine for the Land of the Living. So that's what we're doing on page 86. And so I've got several discussion questions, but me too. I've missed you the past 2 weeks. I know. We missed you too. Glad you could make it back. Hey Heather, how are you doing? Just on the top of your head, what do you guys think mythopoetic plant medicine means? Mythopoetic. We're actually not going to get where she talks about it, because that's on page 892, but since it's the start of the chapter, we're not going to get to it this week. So I'm going to start reading, and hello, Raven, how are you? Welcome. So yeah, on the top of your head, what do you think mythopoetic plant medicine means? Not sure myself. So, take a stab at that. So I really love the quote here that starts this chapter. It's by Martin Shaw, who I don't know who that is, and I didn't have time to look him up. So myth is not much to do with the past, but a kind of magical present that can flood our lives when the conditions are just so. It is not just the neurosis of us humans trying to fathom our place on Earth, but sometimes the Earth actually speaking back to us. That's why some stories can be hard to approach. They are not necessarily formed from a human point of view. It must be about stories told about the plants. Yep, that's a yeah. Must be. Yeah, I figured that's what you said. Yeah, that's a good thought about that, definitely. Yeah. Myth definitely means story to me. I'm unsure about the poetic thought. Like Hero and Achilles, hence the name. Yes, right. The myths about plants. Okay. The archetypes in tarot. They're out there. He used it to heal battle wounds. Right. But also, it was what he was dipped in. Like his mom held him by his heel and dipped him in yarrow, so he became immune, except for his heal. Hence the Achilles heel is the place where he can get hurt from. So yeah. But yeah, it's also used in battle. It's good for those wounds. Cool. So I thought this quote was really neat because it's like the idea that we're having like a conversation with the earth with these myths, and the earth was like communicating back, and I never have thought about it in that way. So I think it's really cool quote to start out with. So yeah. Got a heating pad, but it's too warm or not warm enough. All right, I'm gonna start eating on PG6. So, I think actually that is one of the only myths that I know about herbs. I bet there's a ton more. You know, I know a story about sassafras because it's got 5 different leaf types, which is really neat. I think that's it. That would be really neat to look into. How like you know, I mean that one translates just right into the arrow's name, but maybe some of the other ones, because I'm sure there's herbs and myths. Sometimes fairy tales are thought of as taking place in the boreal forest under the flickering expanse of northern lights and across moss so thick your footprints are swallowed up even as you run silently through the once upon a time of the greenest of green. Now I know that Elaine has moss like that. That was an incredible picture, Elaine, of that moss just covering the ground. I bet it's amazing when it's all like green. And yet, where the veil thins and sometimes disappears has nothing to do with natural borders or human expectations. It would be difficult indeed to find oneself in the canyons of New Mexico, surrounded by the fire-flowered and the green-thorn silhouettes of Octillo, and not strongly sense the nearness of that which is just beyond normal vision and consciousness, and the seductively sweet scent of night-blooming mirabilis longiflora is the longing for a place both just beyond the next bend and infinitely distant from the world we know. There are a few places on this planet that unnerve and enchant folks the way this dramatic landscape does, and few plants that draw people in, and sometimes through the veil the way these do. Outsiders visiting during the dry season sometimes call New Mexico strange worlds like barren or badlands. Stark as it may sometimes be, this place is neither barren nor badland. What is true is that sometimes the landscape is dramatically different, that outlanders have no words to describe what they're seeing, and just as often don't have the eyes to see beauty outside of our culture's idealized agricultural bottomlands or deciduous forests. All right, guys, so have 2 questions as I read this section. And let me just. Okay, so step into the shoes of like a visitor to your home, your town, your woods, desert, landscape, and how would they describe the plant life and landscape? So she's like, hey, people visit New Mexico and they're like, this is like another planet. But how do you think people would sort of describe your place? Maybe if they're coming to a desert and coming from a desert to like a very wet. That's how I was thinking I was going to describe my place too. But I think yours is even wetter. Wet. Yes. Yeah. So one of my favorite, okay, I watch Outlander. I don't know if anyone else watches Outlander, but one of my favorite bits in Outlander is when she is preparing to go back to Scotland of the past, and she makes her outfit out of rain jackets, raincoat material. She's like, it's so wet. Depends when they come as well. True, right. So at some points you're probably drier. Yeah. You remember that scene? Yeah. It really stuck out, and I was like, that's really smart. I mean, but of course she only made like the one outfit. So I'm like, well, you lose it, you know, and of course she does. And anyway, then they go to the tropics, and hey, if anyone's seen it, I don't want to give anything away. I haven't seen it, so it's my guilty pleasure. Oh, which I haven't seen the at least 2 seasons of it, because it's not on Netflix yet. If they come from somewhere warm in early spring, they might think dead because our spring is late. Oh, okay. So they think dead. Right. Because there's nothing there, like when they came to her place in New Mexico. You know. I would definitely say my place can be damp. Lush and wet, yeah. Damp. I feel like for me, they might feel closed in, especially if they're coming from like a more expansive open space, or they might like that. You know, they might feel like they were comforted in, because I'm in a valley surrounded by, you know, a bunch of mountains and everything else. So there is agricultural land surrounding you. Cool. Well, what do you think, like somebody who doesn't normally live in that environment would like or not like, Heather? What do you think? Do you think they would like, you know, the cows? Your friends, the cows? Or, oh my gosh, you guys, I saw like a lady singing to her cow, and her cow was singing back on Facebook. Just an aside, just a random. It was the most awesome thing ever. This singing cow. It was so cute. It was like humongous cow, just like just singing. It was adorable. So yeah, I mean, it was just something someone posted, or they reposted it. It was great. There was also like a little girl singing to her horse. I don't know if anyone saw that one. I think the cow was slightly better for some reason, but that horse was so cute and super enjoying the singing. Like, you know, just it was amazing. He was like, that horse loves that girl, a big horse. And I was like a little girl. Okay, I'm going to continue on page 80. I'm on page 87. Was there anything else? Yes. No, wait, that goes on the next page. Okay. What in your landscape is different, really different from other places? Like, is there like some standout, like me, like, I guess the mountains would be a main thing. You know, the things we watch. I like huskies singing. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know. Oh, that's awesome. I love huskies because they're fluffy. Love the fluffy. Love the fluffy. And then my parents live in Texas, and when I was there for a while, you know, I was really noticing the sky. It was humongous, and it was just like all sky, and it was just gorgeous. Lots of water, lots of locks. The soil here is red clay. Okay, so that people would notice. Yeah. Okay, so that's unique. It's red clay here, but you don't really. It's not all red clay. You don't really see it. You know, it's not like I think what Heather is describing, but we do have some. Cool, you guys. Awesome. All right. So, okay. Herbalists visiting from other parts of the country or world are often surprised to recognize plants from their own homes, even if they also seem a bit alarmed by the difference in habitat and growth habit. Black cherries, evergreen, oaks, wild roses, goldenrod, milkweeds, and violets abound, and even rowan, elder, and various orchids are not uncommon here. Solomon seal and hawthorn are rarer, but can still be found if you know the forest well enough. Wild mushrooms, including many edible and medicinal species such as morels, I don't know that one, porcini, and lobster, populate our upper elevation carnivorous forests. Oh my gosh, it's not carnivorous. You know, you come in there and then the forest eat you. It's conifer forests where there's like a lot of needle trees. Oh my gosh. Anyway, hawthorns all over the place here. That's cool. And they're spiky. That sounds cool, Heather, but probably not easy to plant in. I don't think, yeah, I think the red clay is hard to plant in, right, Heather? Yeah. Fairy slippers and coral root orchids thrive far from roads in the marshes, bogs, playas, and other wetlands. Few known even exist in the high elevations. The canyons of the outer world are also populated by unfamiliar spikes and spines of cacti, and vulnerable human skin is easily caught on the thorns and razored edges of plants like beargrass, nolina, and octillo. Even seemingly familiar plants such as redroot may adorn themselves with unfamiliar spikes and a marked scent of wintergreen. Yes, my 3-year-old son knows hawthorn. So, okay, it's hard to plant in if it's dry. Well, I'm glad it's not, you know, you can plant in it. And of course, there's probably ways of converting a clay soil into a different kind of soil and make it a little easier to plant in. I don't know how you do that, but I know there is ways. Yeah, your 3-year-old, yeah. Has he gotten, like my friend, she has a hawthorn on her tree that, oh, Kitty, what's going on? What's going on, Kitty? Oh, it's loving. Come on, buddy. Come on up. Come on. Come on. Come on. I'll move it. I'll move that. Come on. Yeah. He says, I want some loving. Poor guy. He's very weird, and he likes to be petted on our kitchen table or in the bathroom. And sometimes he'll come and sit with us on the couch, which is really nice, because then he'll just sit right by me and I get to pet him. But can't always be by the kitchen. You can't always be by the kitchen, buddy. I got all this stuff on this other chair. Yeah. Okay. You don't have to share this one with me. Okay. I mean, I can take this other stuff off. Oh, okay. All right. Hold on. Yeah. He says hello. I don't know if it's enough room for him. He just likes to. Not enough room? Okay, well, all right. I'm gonna be over here. Okay, well, we'll do this at the same time then, okay? All right. The public is waiting. Okay. Eugene says hi. Not if you have a tractor. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so that's good. So I'm glad it's not one of the harder plays. So yeah, so my friend has a large hawthorn tree on her property, just like one, I think, and I was really upset to find out that like it wasn't alive, it was dead. It was really huge, and I was just like, whoa, those spikes are so big, and it's just really amazing. But I was really excited. I'm like, ooh, we can get hawthorn berries, and we can make some hawthorn berry stuff. And she's like, well, I don't think it's alive. And I'm like, so anyway, I think hawthorn trees are really cool. And I don't think, I mean, they definitely grow here, but I don't think they're as common as, you know, we've got a lot of pine. We've got a lot of cedar. We've got oak and all kinds of other stuff. Maple. And you like them too? Yeah, they're really cool. And like, I'm not usually a fan of like plants with big spikes. No, I've never been. I mean, cactuses are fine, but I've never been like a huge cactus fan. But something about that hawthorn tree really impresses me. I think it's really cool. All right. Cliched as it may sound, New Mexico truly is the land of enchantment. The magic here is palpable, dappled as autumn light through cottonwood leaves, vivid as the scarlet stain of volcanic cliffs against the lapis sky. We live in the liminal, on the threshold, on the borderlands, in the ecotones, where ecologies overlap and interweave, where the veil peels back so far it becomes difficult to tell which world we are walking in. Not a momentary flash of an unfamiliar landscape, but a physical sense of vertigo when we wake up from the dream of civilization long enough to experience a complete immersion in the otherness of our primal origins. That's pretty rad, guys. Elaine says, I love the way she talks about her land. It's really different to mine, but I completely understand her love of it. Yeah, I agree. That is exactly what I was thinking when I was reading that. That, she just, creates this sense of what it's like. And, I have been to New Mexico, but I've only been there briefly. And it is very different from where I am. But yeah, I also really love it, and that was really surprising. That this part was in this book. But that's what I like. It's not just, we're not just talking about the herbs, we're talking about some other things around the plants and some ideas about that. And it's nice to talk about the places where we live, So she's describing all these like magical elements, things that really inspire her and her landscape. So what do you guys think about describe the magical elements of your area in regards to like landscape? Like what feels, what are the places that you feel are otherworldly to you? Do you have like that spot where you're like, this feels like, we're in that other space? Something about that. Oh my gosh, buddy. Eugene is just magic. Look at him. This is his spot. Under a hawthorn tree. Nice. Oh. Eugene, are you thinking about your magical spot? Right here. He loves it right under his chin. Right on his chest. Oh man. Look at that kitty. Yeah, he loves it. He also likes this. He likes his head getting really smooshed. He's just, I don't know. Yeah. Oh, buddy. Yeah. Okay. Watching the sun, wind and rain over the water of the locks. I like the fall. There's so when I'm in more of the city area right now, but we had an oak tree on my parents' land, and then what happened was it died. It was this huge old oak, and then around the stump, because we had to cut it down, all this mugwort grew up, and I always felt like that place was like really magical because the mugwort wasn't there when the oak was alive, and it just all grew up like around the stump, and that place was really, really cool. And then anytime that yeah. So does yours. And of course, those pictures he sent you posted on the Facebook were just gorgeous. So. Well, Kitty, he's very distracting. It's been all right. This is Eugene time. I'm gonna continue on page 88. Thank you. I could have posted 100, but I restrained myself. Oh my gosh. If you had posted more, I would have just been booking my plane ticket regardless of pandemic. Oh, and also, like, travelers from the United States are banned in the EU, so I don't even know if I could come. So, and yours too. Oh, thank you. I wish I had some more in like the summer, and I would have loved to have posted some pictures of my parents' land before they moved, and my big oak tree, but they're in real pictures. I would have had to. I guess I could have scanned them in, but I had some pictures. We went up on the parkway. So, oh, there he goes. It wasn't snowing when we started out, but we got up to such a high elevation that's what you saw was like the snow, and then it was like icy, and that was really cool. So, on summer nights, oh my gosh, I wish I can pronounce these herbs. Daruras. Oh my god. Ivory buds spiral open into ghostly trumpets in the canyon's dusk, shimmering with shades of violet and olive, humming with insect wings, singing singing to us like uncanny horns of the other world. Yeah. I think I got all the questions over here again. Beyond and alongside, overlaying and underlaying, in between and woven throughout is the other world. The land of the living is only a breath away. In the space of one heartbeat and the next, while human psychology is deeply tied to our understanding of the other world, its existence is born from the innate magic of the land and is not dependent on the notice or belief of humans. So that's a neat idea that, the land is kind of its own. It's there whether we're there or not, whether we are involved or not. There is a reason that many of the most powerful stories of all time are told by those who seem strange or don't fit into society and are often labeled as outright crazy. Our sages and shamans, fairy doctors and wise women, poets and priests have often lived apart from their community at the edge of the woods where the brave will venture when they need a cure, a charm, a story, a ceremony. Regardless of the categories we create for scholarly convenience, all of these folks are healers in the sense that they work to restore wholeness to the world, often through the reconnection of people to place in some way. So I like that. The idea that, it was very important. It's very important to be connected to a place. And so I was wondering, so what are some ways to reconnect or connect with a place? Maybe you move to a new place and you just feel really like disconnected, or maybe you just feel like you've lost your connection to your land. And a lot of people, that's a whole thing right now, is really feel like people feel very disconnected, like we've lost that connection. And then, is having a connection to a land important or necessary? And if so, why or why not? Like, is this connection thing important, or is it just like BS or not? So walk it as often as possible. Yeah, that's a good way, definitely. Get out there, hang out, say hello. I think it's important for me. Learn about the plants on the land and animals. Yeah. It's really important for me too. Yeah, I think like when I was living on the other side of the state at the beach, like I wasn't able, due to circumstances, to learn about like some of the plants, even though like, we were out and we walked by the ocean a lot. And that was like the big thing there. I've got some shells and stuff like that, and some driftwood and things. But I feel like, maybe for some reason I never actually fully connected. Yeah, I think it's important for a lot of people. I think for some people it's less important. Or maybe there's more places where like they can connect to or be in. And other places people are like very specific, like her, like she very much needed to find this place, and it has been very important to her in her like life. So I guess we might get through farther than I thought today. Just zoom in. Elaine, yeah, that's true. You can be connected without knowing the names of the plants and animals, I think, but just by being out there, knowing the layout of the land, your favorite places in it. You can. But it does help. Yeah. You're learning. Like where you lived before, I think, Elaine, you mentioned that you lived other places. I think you lived other places. Was it different than where you are now, or markedly different? I think you were living more in the city, to remember. Jacket, camera. Okay. Some people connect more to other people, right, and don't notice their surroundings. It's true. Yes, exactly. Some people are just, like my family's in this place, and that's important to me, so that's why I'm here. Yes, I agree, Heather. Land was very different, much milder and much flatter. Okay, cool. And then they say that, I feel like I've lived other places in my state, and like the landscape is just sort of like fades into the background. Like it's just, the land is sort of not as much of a presence. And it could be due to like where I lived in a city part where there was just a lot of just stuff people have built up. So like the landscape was sort of camouflaged. You couldn't, you weren't out in the country. So, and then other places, the land is just a huge player. It's just like you can't miss that ocean, you can't miss that mountain, you can't miss the fields that just go on. I'm the opposite. Me. You miss your homeland? Aw. Yeah, in the midst of all the buildings, it's easy to forget about it. It is. It is. And then when you go out, and the buildings have their own identity, I feel like. So I don't want to like, especially like when I went to Europe and I spent a very tiny time in Europe, and I was so like, because here in the United States, we don't have things much older than like 200 years old or something, 200 plus years old. But when you're in Europe, everything is so much older. And I think that the buildings sort of become their own landscape. They sort of have soaked up whatever is about the land, and it's just there in the buildings. And I thought that was really, really cool. So, and I also feel like in the same way, I'm going to say a city has its sort of own feeling to it, but like I definitely do now when I'm in like more of a developed area, and then I go out into a less developed area with more green and stuff, like I was like, oh man, I really miss this. I feel like your eyes get to rest because buildings and everything else are just have this like kind of chaoticness about them. Yeah, in the midst of all the buildings, it's easier to forget about it. Yeah. Yes, that's true. I've lived in the country though, and I'm glad to get to be in my land every day and occasionally visit a city. Lots of people prefer the other way around. Yeah. So I guess it just really depends on like what kind of person you are, and some people like we're saying is like a place, a land is really important, or like people, or like your family is really important, and that place where you live is less important, or like because there is a lot of beauty in the city, because yeah, okay, not sure what I was gonna say, but I think I was still trying to express what I was trying to express more expressively, but it's not happening, so we'll leave it at that. But cool. All right. So I am gonna end today at 4 because I have to do that today. So yeah, I just want to let everybody know again. Got about 15 minutes. But yeah, cool. Still on page 88. To see or walk the other world is to step through the veil, something that is considered more accessible for humans on specific days of the year, as occurs on the last day of October, on or around certain events such as death or birth, and to certain people such as the blind, the neurodivergent, the childlike, and divinely inspired poets, musicians, and artists. Those who have been broken by life and sewn back together by the sinew of their own grief also seem to have easier access to otherworld, as trauma has a way of opening the mind to perceptions and experience that world otherwise to be unavailable. Yeah. Okay, so this is 89, page 89. We're talking about edge walkers. And so she is going to talk about she has a form of autism, a form of Asperger's, and this term neurodivergent, it's just you think different from other people, and therefore you may have like a hard time and she talks about this term called the wrong planet syndrome, and so my question would be like, have you ever felt kind of like you weren't from this planet? You just felt like you just didn't fit, like how you were thinking other people weren't really like following, and then like and we if this you don't have to get just it could be yes, I've experienced this, no, I haven't, you don't have to get too specific. You can get as specific as you want or not. And I'll just read this, and then because I had a questions, but then I didn't write them down because I ran out of time. So I was like, we're not going to get to that. So and I think for some level, a lot of us have sort of experienced on some level this, this thing where you just feel like you don't fit where you are, either like at work or where, anyway, school. Let's see. Definitely sometimes I think the internet really helps with that, though. We can meet up with like-minded people, and that's also different. Yes. Which is really cool. Simon was talking, I don't know if anyone saw his interview with Rochelle, Amethyst Ascension, her channel spotlight. He was talking about that, and like they were talking about that, and that was really cool. Thing about the internet and this community is like you can, if you live in a town and there's a meetup, it's less likely that you'll find those persons that you really click with. But now that we have the internet, it can be somebody from the chances is bigger because you're like opening up to basically, like, for us, the English speaking world, or anyone who speaks English, and not necessarily as their first language, they just have to speak it. But which is really cool. So, all right, edge walkers. Many of us So even if you don't have this form of Asperger's, I think a lot of us have and can relate to what she's talking about here. Many of us with the form of autism known as Asperger's syndrome often use the term wrong planet syndrome for our particular form of neurodivergence and expressing how very different we are from those around us. While divergent by choice has many merits, the neurodivergent are most often born different and will spend their lives thinking, feeling, and acting markedly other than their peers. Like many autistics who have a limited capacity to pass as fairly normal, I've spent a good part of my life trying to convince myself and those around me that I was just a little eccentric and artsy, an artist, but not innately flawed or strange. After a lifetime of relevant reclusiveness, it is teaching that has taught me exactly how other I actually am. For much of my childhood and teen years, I worked hard to act as if I understood and related to the underlying motivations and the basic premises that those around me acted and spoke from. I've spent my life keeping to the fringes of society, living on the streets as a teenager, raising my daughter in the swamps of Appalachia as a young single mother, and only ever engaging in the middle-class norm when I was forced to by the need for medical care or the occasional desperate attempt at romance. I don't mind the edges, for rare plants and odd folks grow here. Residing in these cultural and psychological borderlands resulted in some degree of internal normalization of my own particularities, to the point that when I finally emerged from my own world to teach others about plants, I was entirely unprepared for the ways in which the average human thinks, speaks, and acts. Simple questions in the classroom could alarm or confuse me for weeks at a time, and my personal interactions with students were frequently awkward as a result of my social handicaps and lack of cultural conditioning. And it seems like, I mean, I definitely have issues where, like, I have ADD, I have LD, but I think that the ADD causes more of the, like, confusions where I just don't understand what's happening in a situation, so that, like, it seems like other people do more immediately, and then they can act in that situation where, like, I'm like, I don't know what's going on, so I have to, like, get through that situation and, like, go home and, like, you know, talk to my therapist or talk to, like, a friend and say, what the heck is going on? What happened? I don't understand. And so, but this, but definitely is not on the level of what she's experienced. But I can, I feel like I can sympathize and empathize to an extent. And people can be very harsh and mean about that, So, all right. Okay, so we're gonna have to leave it at that because we've got like 5 minutes. So we'll pick up on page 90, and we will continue. And then we will get to Mythopoetic Plant Medicine. And then after that is mint. Talk about mint. So that was great fun. Oh, well, I'm glad. Elaine. And Elaine and Heather. And it looks like we have one other person that has been joining us. So Yeah, it's like I literally had like, yeah, these sections are really interesting. So I'm so looking forward to mint. Yeah, me too. But she's talking about. I'll have to look up the mint she's talking about. Mint. Well, she's talking about M. canadensis. Yeah, I'll have to look at the. Just the common names are wild mint, corn mint, rock mint, horse mint, corn mint, bog mint, like water ebony. So I'm not sure if she's talking about regular peppermint. So I have to look that up. You know, just to see what kind of mint, because there's a ton of mints. So just a ton. My bookmark. So my bookmarking again. All right. So thanks everyone for coming, and I'm going to talk about plants and places and all kinds of stuff. So I know my favorite mint is peppermint. No, pineapple, apple mint. My favorite mint is apple mint, and it's got these humongous, big, fuzzy leaves, and it grows really tall, and it's just, you get so much mint, and it's got this nice, mild, mellow flavor. It's not very crisp and sharp. Anyway, I'm sure I'll ramble about that one and ask everyone what their favorite mints are and everything else. So be prepared to talk about your favorite mint. All right. So I hope everyone has a good evening and a good night, and I'll see you guys next week. Cool. All right. Bye.